One soldier in blue cloaks force Marquis Belpir to his knees before Duke Vieto, and no amount of struggling changes anything about his situation. He looks up at the Duke, a man carved from silence and certainty, and begins to plead his case with everything he has left. He killed the Emperor. He says it loudly, almost proudly. Before Vieto even reached the capital, Belpir's own hands ended the tyrant's reign. He is not a criminal. He is the man who gave Valhalla exactly what its people needed. How dare anyone call him a traitor? Duke Vieto listens. His face doesn't move. His eyes don't soften. When Belpir finally runs out of breath, Vieto gives a single quiet order to his soldiers. Take him away. The execution plaza is already full when Belpir arrives at the gallows. Thousands of Valhalla's citizens pack the square, drawn not just by spectacle, but by the quiet promise of a new beginning. Something is ending today. Something else is starting. And Duke Vieto stands before them all, not as a rebel or a conspirator, but as the voice of judgment. He lays out Belpir's crimes one by one, with the kind of calm that is more devastating than anger. The Marquis, Vieto tells the crowd, was never a hero. He was the Emperor's most loyal instrument, the man who enabled a reign of cruelty, violated the sacred code of warrior duels, and personally conspired to assassinate Roman Dmitri during the Valhalla festival. He did not act out of conviction. He acted out of convenience. And Belpir, even now, with a noose around his neck, cannot stay quiet. He screams down from the gallows that he was only following imperial orders, that everything he did was by command, that he had no choice. Vieto's calm breaks for just a moment. He turns on Belpir with a fury that silences even the crowd. Then, in a voice steady enough to carry to every corner of the plaza, he delivers the detail that truly defines who Belpir is. The moment the rebellion began gaining ground, the moment it became clear the Emperor was going to lose, Belpir didn't stand and fight. He didn't stay loyal to the man he served. He quietly sent word to Roman Dmitri and begged for a place among the rebels. Not for Valhalla, not for its people, for himself. The crowd absorbs that in silence, but Belpir has one final play. He turns to the citizens, voice cracking, arms straining against his ropes, and accuses Vieto directly. They planned this together, he shouts. The Duke is no more innocent than he is. And if Belpir is a traitor, what does that make Vieto? He tells the crowd he is Valhalla's true saviour, the man who personally ended the tyrant's life. And he is the one who deserves the throne, not the Duke standing below him. The plaza goes completely still. No one moves, no one responds. The crowd simply stares up at the man hanging above them, and their silence is the most brutal answer they could give. Then something happens that breaks Belpir in a way no sword ever could. A voice finds him. Not from the crowd, not from the platform, not from anywhere around him. It comes from inside his own mind. Cold, unhurried, absolute. It tells him that his life ends here, today, on this exact spot, and not just his life, his entire bloodline. Erased, a final gift, the voice says, offered for their reunion. Belpir's eyes sweep the crowd in wild, sweating panic. And then he finds the source. A figure stands still among the citizens below the gallows, wrapped in a deep red hood. Not running, not hiding, just watching with the flat, expressionless gaze of someone who has already decided how this ends. Roman Dmitri. The citizens near him pull back in shock, suddenly aware of the overwhelming presence radiating from that still, cloaked figure. And in the moment, Belpir's mind finally processes who that voice belongs to. The trap door beneath his feet snaps open. The rope pulls taut. Duke Vieto closes his eyes and turns his head away. He doesn't watch. Marquis Belpir, the man who helped topple an empire, who held political power over all of Valhalla and used every last piece of it to survive, meets precisely the same fate as the emperor he so eagerly abandoned. Death on a gallows, watched by thousands, mourned by none. Behind the closed door of Vieto's private office, the noise of the city feels far away. The Duke sits forward at his desk and speaks with the kind of directness that doesn't require an audience. Valhalla, he tells Roman, owes him more than words can carry. The rebellion would have collapsed without him. That is simply the truth. Roman, standing across the room in his red cloak, receives it the way he receives most things, without ceremony. He tells Vieto that a deal was made and a deal was honoured. Nothing more than that. Then he says there is something he needs. Vieto leans back, warm and willing. "Name it," he says. "Whatever falls within my power. Consider it done." Roman looks at him steadily. He wants access to the Tomb of the South. The warmth leaves Vieto's face so quickly it's almost startling. His eyes widen. For a long moment he says nothing at all. The Tomb of the South is not a place most people speak of lightly. Hidden somewhere deep within the southern jungle, buried under generations of silence and shadow, stands a massive stone pyramid wrapped in layers of ancient moss. Time has not been gentle to it. Vines crawl across its surface, roots push through its cracks. But the structure itself refuses to fall. It has been standing since before anyone alive can remember. This is where Valhalla buries its emperors. Every ruler who ever commanded this empire rests within those walls. To seek entry is not simply a request. It is a declaration that you intend to claim whatever wisdom or power those emperors left behind. Vieto would open those gates right now if he could. He says so. But the tomb does not work that way. There is a trial, ancient and bound by traditions so deep that even the new ruler of Valhalla cannot simply override it. Not for anyone. Not even for the man who saved the empire. He details what the trial demands. 7 consecutive days inside the stone arena at the jungle's edge. Every warrior in Valhalla who chooses to step forward may do so, and many will, one after another, without pause, without mercy. If Roman somehow survives the full 7 days against that relentless tide, a second challenge waits. The indigenous people of the jungle, the ones who have guarded the tomb across generations, answering to no empire and no emperor, will then pass their own judgment on whether he is worthy to enter. 7 days. An entire empire's worth of warriors. Then guardians no one fully understands. Roman's expression doesn't change. He tells Vieto simply to arrange the arena, and whatever happens inside it, he is not to hold anyone responsible. Vieto studies him for a long moment. Then he agrees. The trial begins at dawn, but before the arena fills, there is something worth understanding about what this trial actually means. Carved into a moss-covered gravestone near the tomb's entrance is an inscription that generations of warriors have read, and many have died chasing. It promises peerless enlightenment, a transformation of skill and understanding so complete that anyone who clears the trial will emerge as something beyond an ordinary fighter. No one was ever able to verify whether that inscription told the truth. Legends built up around it. Fighters travelled from across the empire, drawn by the promise of something greater than themselves. Most of them never came back. The arena around the tomb became a graveyard of shattered weapons and unfinished stories. Then, roughly a century ago, a lone, cloaked warrior walked out of the tomb's dark archway alive. His name was Carlos. The crowd of fighters waiting outside erupted. Had he found it? The techniques, the enlightenment. Did the inscription tell the truth? Carlos stood before them trembling, not with triumph, with something far heavier. He told them the truth. There is nothing inside, no secret, no enlightenment. The Tomb of the South holds only one thing, the blood-soaked, unvarnished history of the Valhalla Empire. Nothing more. After Carlos spoke those words, the legend died. No one attempted the trial again. The arena fell quiet. The inscription on the gravestone became a curiosity rather than a promise. Until now. The announcement that the trial of the warrior had been revived reached every corner of Valhalla within hours, and the reaction was unlike anything anyone expected. By the time the stone arena deep in the southern jungle opened its gates, thousands had already gathered. The tiered stone seating filled to capacity. Warriors, citizens, veterans, young fighters who had never held a sword in battle, all of them pressed together, all of them waiting for something they couldn't quite name, but desperately needed to see. The sound of measured footsteps on stone brings the crowd to its feet. A single figure ascends to the high platform overlooking the arena. The roar that follows is enormous. Voices call his name from every direction. Some call him a hero, some call him something more, the word emperor spreading through the crowd like fire through dry grass. Duke Vieto stands before them, now wearing a golden laurel crown that catches the light of the open sky. Behind the composed exterior, something complex is happening. He had not anticipated the scale of this reaction. He had not expected the announcement of a single trial to ignite the empire this way. But as he looks out over the mass of people screaming his name, something crystallizes in him. These people were starving, not for food, for meaning, for a reason to believe that what they had fought through had led somewhere real. And Roman Dmitri, perhaps without intending to, had handed them a stage. Vieto tightens his fist at his side. Roman saved Valhalla. That is a fact. But this is still Valhalla's most sacred tradition, and Vieto will not stand above the arena while an outsider carves himself into the Empire's oldest story without resistance. He looks down at the arena floor below. Roman stands there already, red cloak, sword drawn, perfectly still. Vieto's voice carries across every corner of the arena as he declares the rules. 7 days. Any warrior of Valhalla who wishes to challenge the Outlander is free to enter. There are no restrictions. There is no limit. If Roman survives every last one of them, the jungle's guardians will render their own verdict. Only then will the path to the tomb open. Roman listens without any visible reaction. Behind that stillness, one thought registers. The jungle guardians must be the indigenous tribes who have protected this land long before the empire existed. That is a different kind of problem, one to handle when the 7 days are done. First, whoever is about to step into this arena. The first challenger doesn't need to be called twice. He strides forward from the edge of the arena, tall, heavily built, with the kind of physical presence that comes from years of actual combat, not training grounds. His hair is blonde, and around him crackles a fierce yellow aura, alive and dangerous like static before a lightning strike. He stops a measured distance from Roman and introduces himself. His name is Valderus, a veteran of the rebel forces, a man who stood on the right side when it mattered, and he means it when he says it is an honor to face Roman Dmitri today. There is no performance in those words. But what happens inside Valderus as he settles into his fighting stance tells a far more complicated story. He is not deluding himself, not for a second. He has seen what Roman did at the Valhalla festival. He knows what Roman did to the city of Marin, reduced its capital to nothing, and did not break a sweat doing it. The man standing across from him right now is not someone Valderus can simply defeat. That gap in raw power is real, and Valderus knows exactly how real it is. From the high platform above, Emperor Vieto watches in silence, and that is precisely why Valderus has already adjusted his objective. He cannot win this fight. But winning is not the point. The point is that Roman must face 6 more days of warriors after this one. Each warrior who steps into this arena is part of something larger, a slow, grinding erosion of Roman's stamina and energy, one battle at a time. Valderus's job is not to be the man who defeats the Outlander. His job is to be the man who makes the Outlander pay a price. Beyond the strategy, there is something deeper. Carlos was Valhalla's greatest warrior. His name is etched into this empire's identity. The idea of an outsider entering the tomb of the South, the one place Carlos alone had conquered, and carving his name above it is a wound Valderus simply cannot accept, even at the cost of his life. He surges forward. The stone floor scrapes under his feet as he launches himself upward, blade raised high, golden aura blazing around the steel, every ounce of his strength pouring into a single downward strike aimed directly at Roman's head. Roman's eyes narrow slightly, just slightly, and then Valderus's blade finds nothing but stone. The crash of steel on empty ground echoes through the silent arena. Valderus lands hard, off balance, staring at the crater his own blade made, and it takes half a breath for his mind to catch up with what just happened. Roman is gone. In the same fraction of a second that Valderus realizes this, a presence registers directly behind him. Roman has already moved, already closed the distance, already raised his blade. One clean, brutal slash, dark steel, purple aura. A burst of force that tears through the arena dust and sends Valderus to the ground with a cry of pain that carries all the way to the highest seats. Roman stands where he stopped, still, unhurried. His sword radiates that deep, steady purple light in the settling dust. He turns his gaze slowly across the thousands of stunned, silent faces watching from the stands. Then he asks, in a voice that carries without effort, "Who wants to come next?"